Hey guys, it's Benjamin Krasinski here again from the Pedalhead Show. Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing great, thanks. Today we're going to be looking at the Boss HM-2 heavy metal pedal. We're going to be modding this pedal to work properly with 9 volts of regulated power rather than its required 12 volts of unregulated power. Boss pedals from the late 80s and early 80s require ACA adapters only sold by Boss, which were 12 volts of unregulated power. So, if you have a power supply, usually you can't use these pedals to their fullest capability and sound with 9 volts. So, why is that? Because there's one resistor and one diode that break down the 12 volts to 9 volts to properly power the pedal. Now, if we remove that resistor and diode, or add a jumper cable in between an area where both that diode and resistor meet, then we could bypass that resistor and diode, therefore properly power this heavy metal HM2 with 9 volts of regulated DC current. So my power supply only has two 12-volt outputs, and I am using them right now for other pedals. I would like to use this pedal with a 9-volt output from my power supply. Rather than going out to buy a new power supply, I'm just going to mod this HM2, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So let's see what we'll need to do this mod. All right, looking at the pictures over here, we have the HM2 and all of its circuits out there on the circuit board. We have both sides, the green side and all the circuits and resistors and whatnot on the other side. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description for you to go to find your old 80s Boss pedal and what exact resistor and diodes you need to remove in order to do this mod. Now, the thing to worry about is some pedals changed over time. If you have an older pedal, some parts would become unavailable and then Boss would have to replace them. So do your research. Don't just trust this one place, but if you feel comfortable and you double check what you need to take out before, then you're ready to rock. All right, so for the HM2, the site said you have to take diode 1 or D1 and R2. Okay? D1, R2. Not R2, D2, but D1, R2. All right? Now, you can remove that and add a jumper cable, with that jumper cable being the legs of any resistor you might have laying around. Now, that was my first approach to this mod. But after reading some more forums, I'm going to feel more comfortable just jumping an area where the diode and resistor meet. And I watched another YouTube video for this. I'll link that in the description below. So if we look at the cable inputs 1 to 6 on the resistor side, not the green side of the pedal. So if we look at on the resistor side of the pedal and we see all of the numbers on the bottom 1 to 6. If we choose number 4 and 5 and look back on the green side now and we follow those little trails where the circuit goes, we'll see that 4 and 5 both approach one side of the resistor and the diode and then cross over to the other side. So instead of me taking out the resistor and diode, I'm going to put a jumper between 4 and 5 in order to bypass this resistor and diode, take them out of the circuit without having to remove them out of the pedal. And then, if I ever do plan to sell this pedal, probably won't, then I will just simply take out that jumper cable and the pedal will work at 12 volts and no one will accidentally power this now 9-volt modded HM2 with 12 volts, giving it 3 more volts of extra power and frying the circuit. We don't want that. So let's head over to the soldering board and you guys can see how this is done. So just a list of things you'll need though beforehand: a resistor to cut off a very, very small bit of the leg and use that as the jumper. You'll need your pedal. You'll need your soldering tools. Make sure to bring your soldering iron to a lower heat if you can. Be very careful not to burn the circuit. It's very fragile. All you'll need from there is some tweezers and make sure you solder in a ventilated environment. Okay guys, here we go. All right, now looking at this Boss HM2, we have it opened up here. Taking a look at all the resistors and diodes. As you see, we have some cables on the left hand side that come into the pedal from the DC jack, from the bypass switch, and from both the input and output jack, and they go to different parts of the pedal. We are only interested in what goes to D1 and R2. Looking at the back side now. So if we look from right to left, we have all of these numbered from 1 to 6. For resistor 2 and diode 1, we need to jumper points 4 and 5. So on the green side, we count from right to left. And we see that both 4 and 5 go to one of the legs for each one of those diodes and resistors. So here is a resistor that I have. Doesn't matter where it is, because all we're going to be using from this is the legs. So here we have one. See how long we need. It's a very small space between each one of those points. So this jumper is going to be very small. As you see here, it's very small. Very hard to hold on to with those tweezers. Just making sure it's the right size. So soldering this jumper onto the circuit of the HM-2, I used my soldering iron at a lower heat just to be sure not to wreck anything. I usually solder at about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, but I brought it back to about 200 Fahrenheit, and I could have gone even lower. So with your setup, make sure to go for those lower temperatures so you don't burn the circuit. Okay, first step is to add some extra solder to that point. I'm starting at 0.4. This is a very easy mod to perform on these old Boss pedals, but the only difficult thing I found was trying to pick up the jumper with my set of tweezers. Heating it up now. Place the jumper in. Let's see how that looks. Now after that, I'm just laying the other side of the jumper over 0.5. There it's laying over. Then I'm just going to heat up the solder underneath a little bit. And then I'm going to apply some more solder over top 0.5. And there we go. I noticed that the solder kind of globbed over both, but it's not joining the two together underneath on the green part of the board. It's just over the jumper, but it works perfectly. And there we go. Alright guys, so now I have the heavy metal plugged into a 9-volt. I have this 1989 BF2 flanger that has also an ACA adapter of 12 volts needed to power it. This one's powered with 12 volts. This one's powered with the 9 volts after the mod. Let's look at the LED lights to make sure that the heavy metal is being powered fully. Here's the flanger. And here's the HM-2. Now, by my understanding, the HM-2 looks brighter. So, let's do a sound test. Hey guys, so we're back now. As you heard, the HM-2 sounds amazing, not lacking anything. The LED is bright. Just to talk about my patch that I was using there when you're looking at the Helix floor, I have the Boss HM-2 on its own loop, okay, with the preset. The preset has a compressor, and then it has a version of the Ibanez 808. Then we have the effects loop to bring in the HM-2. So I really love feeding a more of a transparent overdrive into the heavy metal and just give it that nice touch of mids, and all of a sudden this heavy metal just sounds like an exact diesel amp or Marshall amp. I think when Boss created the heavy metal HM-2, it says that they're trying to replicate the sound of the low end and crispness or breakup of a JCM 100, 2204 to be specific. I got my Epiphone Les Paul Prophecy stock. Most of the time I've been going through the PAF sound, so I pull on the tone pots to make these pickups more bass heavy and not so chimey. So here's the preset without the HM-2 but with the 808. I'm in drop B tuning, by the way, just so y'all know. Okay, so now let's just do some chords, some nice long droning chords of some doom metal, whatever. And then we're going to bring in the HM-2 as well. Here we go. Let's pull back the volume a little bit. A little bit of flanger, BF2, and the effects loop. I'm going to bring up the manual just a bit to give it more like a staggered delay sound. Awesome. Now as we hear the pedal, if I bring the loop in, we hear a little bit of noise. And that's, you know, that's because the pedal's on. What am I saying? There we go. No noise. Pedal's off, but the loop's engaged. Pedal's now on. Loop's engaged. Now I'm going to turn off the Tube Screamer 808 so we can just hear the HM-2, what happens to it when we just drop those mids completely. Now, I will say one thing before I do that, though. The HM-2 does have mids, but the mids are like 1K, and the highs are 1.1K. So, you know, the treble knob acts as a mid boost and a treble boost, so you can't really increase the mids without also getting that chainsaw sound. Which is freaking gnarly anyways. So here's our clean. Flanger. I got the volume set to 3. I have the bass set to 12. I have the treble set to 12, and I have the gain set to about 11 o'clock. Here we go. Pedal bypass. Sounds pretty gnarly, but as you hear, when we use just the HM-2 without any mid boost in front of it, so no distortion pedal or EQ pedal in front of it, we get no mids, and this pedal takes more of a fuzz sound that it's perfectly known for. People say they hate the HM-2. People swear by it. I personally love it because it can be either an amazing fuzz, it can be just a nice over-the-edge distortion if you already have a pretty good overdriven metal-sounding amp, or if you put that overdrive in front of it, it just sounds gnarly. right, guys. I can do this all night, and after this video is done, I probably will. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for the HM-2. Thank you so much for sticking around. I was Benjamin Gruzinski from the Pedalhead Show. You've been hanging out. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hit it like this. One. Hit it for the heavy metal. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, guys. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.